So today's video is going to be another product review, and today I'm reviewing the Creality Falcon 2 laser cutter. Now, I do lots of laser cutting on this channel, as most of you will know, and one of the questions which I'm most often asked is which laser system would I recommend to somebody just getting started in the hobby? Well, up until now the decision has been a difficult one, and to be honest with you, it's a question I don't like answering. Myself, I use the CO2 laser, and one of the reasons for that is that until fairly recently, diode lasers had one or two shortcomings. Now, when Creality reached out to me and asked me if I would review their Falcon 2 machine, I looked at the specs and then jumped at the chance. So, just the headline facts here. This is a 22 watt diode laser, which in diode laser terms is significant. 22 watts allows you to work faster, allows you to cut thicker materials. It's really good, and 22 watts is excellent. When machines like these first came on the scene, they were sort of 5 watts, maybe 10 watts, and now we're seeing a real leap in the power. But more so, the thing that interests me with this particular machine is all the safety features that are built into it. So one of my misgivings with diode machines in the past has been some of the safety aspects around using them, and this Creality machine deals with all of those. So let's whiz through some of the headline specs. This machine will cut through 15mm timber in one pass. That's what the manufacturers recommend. At the time of recording this, I've not checked that fact out, but it's pretty good. I've no reason to think that it wouldn't. It will cut 10mm black acrylic in one pass. Now, it's worth saying here that other acrylic colours tend to reflect light more and can be harder to cut, so you certainly wouldn't be cutting 10mm thick in all colours of acrylic, but it'll do black. They also claim it will cut 0.05mm thick stainless steel with one pass. Again, that's something that I've not checked. Now, another headline standout feature of this machine is the fact that it will engrave at 25,000mm per minute. That's really fast for a machine of this one size and power rating, and that is excellent. It means you can really chomp through jobs really very quickly indeed. And we'll have a little look at an example of that later on in the video. But finally, the real standout feature of this machine is the groundbreaking integrated air assist. Now, it's a fact that if you've got an air assist or an air pump that can pass air through the nozzle of your laser cutter, you will get better results. It will help keep the cut cooler, it will keep it cleaner, it can help keep the lens cleaner, which means it will last for longer before maintenance periods. And the fact that it's been built in as standard on this machine is excellent. Now, lots of diode lasers are sold without an air assist feature, and it can be troublesome and complicated to retrofit it. I wouldn't consider having a machine like this unless it had an air assist system sort of as part of it. And the fact that the Falcon 2 has it integrated is really superb. Now, even better than the fact that the air assist is built in as standard is the fact that there is a control on the machine, and you can adjust it steplessly from sort of no airflow through to full airflow just by rotating a little knob on the side of the machine. It's really clever, and the fact that this is all sort of built in, obviously at the design stage, is excellent. Now, it's worth noting that the air line that feeds the airhead, or the laser head I should say, is very neatly plumbed in and integrated into the machine frame. There's no kind of loose bits that are going to get caught or snagged. It's really very well thought out indeed. Now, there is another feature about diode lasers in general, well, in fact all laser cutters, coming to think of it, but diode lasers in particular, that worries me. These diode lasers tend to be an open frame design, and they are vulnerable to one or two things which can have serious safety implications. So, for example, it's very easy if you run the machine very slowly through a thick material that is relatively flammable with high power, you can get a fire. There are very few people who've used laser cutters extensively who haven't at some point in time come across a little fire. Now, if you've just got a 5-watt machine, you're probably not going to do a great deal of damage. But with a 22-watt machine, you're starting to get into serious power levels, and accidents like this can happen much more quickly. Well, the laser head on this machine has an integrated flame monitoring system. When a flame is detected, the indicator light on the front of the machine will flash red, and if you enable it, you can have an alarm as well. It will sound out an alarm. It will stop the machine immediately and move the laser head to one side away from the flames. It gives you the opportunity to extinguish them. Now, there's also a system on the laser head itself that will monitor the quality of the lens, and if it senses that it's getting contaminated, which can happen just through the process of engraving and cutting normally, the indicator light will warn. It's like a traffic light system. When everything is good and it's clean, it will illuminate green. As it starts to become contaminated, it will change to an amber colour, and finally it will go red when it needs cleaning. And there's a process for that which we'll show you later in the video, and you can clean it all up, reset it, you're good to go again. Now, the laser head also gives you a visual indication about the airflow monitoring system. So that's just a good thing to see. If you see a red light on there and you think, oh, I should have the airflow on, you can just double check that that little scroll wheel on the side of the machine is opened up. Now, it's not my intention to do a full unboxing in this video. It really is unnecessary. Whilst I was rabbiting on about the technical specifications, you saw me doing the assembly process. You saw everything that was involved in plugging the various bits and pieces together, and it really is child's play. So before we carry on looking at some of the more detailed specifications of this machine and what I absolutely love about it, let's run through a very simple project just to give a flavour of what the machine's about and how it works. So let's have a look at a typical project, and to do that I'm using Lightburn as my control software. We'll talk a little bit more about Lightburn in a minute. I'm going to come up to the file menu and import. I'm going to import a file called Mini Square. Now, this is a little cutout that puts together and makes a little magnetic miniature square. Quite a useful little tool. I often give this as a giveaway when people buy stuff on my online shop. Anyway, that's the footprint of the thing we're going to cut, shown within the boundary or the cutting area of the machine itself. Over here on the right hand side of my screen, we've got the 3 different coloured layers. We've got a black layer, which is going to be our cut layer. The blue lettering is going to be a fill layer that will be engraved, and there's another red layer here for these angled lines, which I've just put on the little square just an example really. The actual cutting itself and the engraving is a function of the speed and the power. So for example, for the black line I've got a cutting speed of 25 millimeters per second, and I'm doing that on 100% power. Let's cut this thing out and see how it looks. So with everything else set up, I'll make sure that I select the Creality Falcon 2 and click Start. And here's the finished part. It took about 2 minutes to cut out. The quality is excellent. If I flip it over, I don't know if the camera's going to focus in, and you can see just how fine the kerf or the width of the laser line is. Now, it looks slightly wider from the top, but from underneath that's a really fine curve that's beautifully focused, and that's the settings, the setup of the machine straight out of the box. Really impressive. Now I'll put this thing together and just show you what it is, because someone's bound to ask. So then let's imagine I wanted to glue these two bits together at 90 degrees. That's what this little gadget is for, this little square. We can hold the bits together, and then the little Pac-Man monsters hold the parts in perfect alignment. Bit of a silly example, but just goes to show how useful a laser cutter could be, and once you've got one, all sorts of tools and things like this become really obvious and really simple to make. So next up, I thought I would see how good the machine would be at cutting and engraving brickwork patterns. Now, my own model making, I use brickwork and laser cut brickwork quite a lot, so I thought I'd produce some little panels to just test out how good it is. And you can see I've put them on the screen here. We've got stretcher bond, Flemish bond, English bond and English garden wall bond. I was tempted to produce a few more, but these will do for now. Now you can see the settings that I'm using. So this material is 1mm MDF, and this is my first sort of test cut with it, so these settings probably aren't optimized, but I'm using a 12mm per second as a cut of the black line and for the speed, and 100% power. I think with hindsight this probably could have been sped up a little bit, but anyway, that's the basic settings I'm using. Let's see how it did. So we're back at my workbench, and here are the samples. The stretcher bond one, which you saw cutting in the video, I seem to have misplaced it between the laser cutter and getting back to my bench. But you could see the quality of the cuts with these. There's no kind of overburn, it's really clean. Now if you're interested in how these things might be painted to look authentic, I've made a video about that a long while ago. I'll leave a link to it in the video description down below, but basically cutting brickwork and stuff like this is absolutely superb. Now, having done these, I think it would be worth having a go at trying some stonework, so that will be the next little activity. So next up, to test some stonework, I thought I'd revisit a drawing I did quite a while ago, and this is the engine shed at Helston Station in Cornwall. Now, I'm not going to cut all the walls. What I've done is I've scaled this down to 2mm scale. I thought it would be very interesting to see how fine we could get the stonework detail. So what I'm going to do is just cut one of these panels, and if I zoom in I can perhaps explain what's going to happen here. So if we have a look at the colours that I've got set up on my screen here, we've got black as a cut line around the outside of our piece of work. The red cut line I'm going to cut on a lower power, and that's going to form the brickwork just like we did before. Oh, I've just noticed there's a line missing there, I'll have to fix that. And the stonework, I've created an image file. So what it's going to do is use a cut pass to cut the black and the red lines, but at different powers obviously. And then it's going to engrave this grey stone pattern. Now perhaps that could be a separate video in itself, looking at how we would create a stone texture for laser cutting. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. Let's cut that and see how it looks. So I hope you could see here, this is the stonework, how it's come out, just how good that is. Hopefully you can see the brickwork of the coins of the building and the brick arches over the windows. Look at the quality of that stonework, and this is in 2mm scale. It's very easy to forget just how small this is. I mean, compare it with my thumb, for example. So once again, really beautiful, clean finish, no overburn. It's really nice. If we look at the back side, look how clean it is. Really, really perfect. I'm really very pleased with that indeed. And let's compare it, just for the sake of scale, some 4mm scale brickwork and 2mm scale stonework. Very difficult until this is painted to truly see how excellent it is. I'll have to paint some and show you in a future video. Now, whilst on the subject of 2mm scale stonework, I just had to show you this. This is a little kit that I make in 4mm scale, and I've scaled this down. Again, this is 2mm scale, so this would be N gauge. Just look how nice it is. It's come out beautifully. Again, really clean cuts. All the internal detail is there. It's really nice. All these window reveals are rebated so that the window frames, when I've cut them, will drop in from behind. But you could see there the quality of the laser cutting. Now you might be wondering about these coins and that cut edge. Well, there's going to be some paper, laser cut paper stone overlays that go over these corners, which will hide all of that and match the stone detail around the windows. But again, look how clean it is. Really excellent. And it's not till you really see it on this cutting mat with a 10mm grid that you can just appreciate how small this thing is. It's tiny. Really nice. To say I'm impressed with the Creality Falcon 2 is, well, it's an understatement. I think it's brilliant. I've got some window sills to pop on here as well, which I've cut them out. I'll get them on there, and perhaps we'll have a little money shot at the end of the video. So I've produced some 4mm scale brickwork, and I've also done some 2mm scale stonework, and the results from those experiments were very encouraging indeed. The quality of the cut edge in particular is really superb. So I thought I'd have a go at a straightforward cutting job, and in this case I've decided to cut out a drawing I did a few years ago, and this will pop out and glue together and make a 3mm scale Feisler Storch, which is one of my favourite aircraft. Now look at how clean the cuts are, and again, if I flip this workpiece over, you can see from behind it looks really very clean indeed. It's very fine detail. Now partly the cleanliness underneath the job is because I'm using the optional honeycomb table, which is an accessory I'd really recommend, elevating the workpiece, allowing airflow through the job, and the underside helps carry the smuts and what have you away, and helps create an even cleaner job. But whatever the case, this is really good. So there's not much maintenance on this machine, save for keeping the lens itself nice and clean, and we spoke about the little warning alarm earlier. And to do which, it's really simple. You unscrew the air nozzle, that's that piece there, which got a very satisfyingly well machined screw thread, and with that there's a little supplied piece of lint cloth, and you just wipe the end of the lens just to clean off any debris that might be on there. Now there's also a little window just here, that's the flame sensor, so it's worth giving that a wipe too, and perhaps a little bit of isopropyl alcohol would really help in getting that beautifully clean, but as the machine's not done much work, I'm not doing so on this case. But there we go, then that nozzle screws back on. I love the fact that it's a nice machined part that screws in beautifully. They could have used a little O-ring or something and had it a press fit, but anyway, that's all that's involved. And then the head goes back on the carriage with those two little thumb screws to reset the machine so that it's ready to go again. It really is a straightforward job cleaning the lens on this machine. My CO2 laser is a bit of a faff, to be honest, stripping it all down. There we go, 3 green lights, we're good to go. Now Creality have thought about fume extraction, and in this case I'm using the optional enclosure. You can see there's a ducted hose, there's a little fan that blows the exhaust gases out. Now the enclosure incorporates cable entry points that are conveniently located to suit the machine itself. There's even a little storage pocket on the side to keep the toolkit in. Now if you have a look at this next shot, hopefully you'll see the smoke being drawn to the rear left corner of the machine. That's where the fan is. Hopefully you can see how efficient that is. And you could set the extraction port to the rear left or rear right of the enclosure to suit your own workspace. There's plenty of room with it zippered open for you to get in, set your material, work the controls, etc. It's really well thought out. And then the hood closes shut to enclose the job, and you have a sort of orange PVC material that you can look through and watch your job as it progresses. Now I'd still recommend wearing the supplied safety glasses, but it certainly does a good job at keeping all the stray light as well as the smoke under control. It's really good, I'd recommend it. So let me wrap this video up by making a few observations. Firstly, this machine was sent to me, I haven't paid for it, so as always, treat everything I say with some suspicion. But Creality haven't given me a script, they haven't told me what to say, and my review is, these are my honest thoughts. I think the machine is excellent, the quality of the cut is superb, engraving, particularly at the speed, is superb also. Now what I really like about it is the way the whole design has got the safety and the kind of the user experience designed in from the word go. There's no doubt in my mind there are quality of life improvements designed into this machine that make it really simple to use. The fact that you can set it up in 5 minutes means you can pack it away again. It doesn't need to take up much storage space. You don't have to leave it set up. Now when you have a laser engraving or cutting machine, you think of all sorts of things that you could be doing with it. And I've got a couple of examples here. One of the first things I did was made this. This was a little tool. I can line this up with the laser head, and that helps me to drop the material in, and I can judge the correct sort of start point for the nozzle of the machine. That's really good. There are other things that we could do with the laser as well. So here's a couple of examples. Living hinges. So there's a little storage box, piece of MDF, cut like that, and it folds up. You can do all sorts of creative things. How about this example? Takes the same principle, takes a flat sheet of material and bends it round. Again, another little storagey box type of thing. So that's what you could do. Now I use Lightburn software, that's my sort of preferred software, that's what I use anyway, and you could see hopefully on this panel the way in which the speed of the machine and the power can be controlled to produce just about any engraving effect that you could possibly be after. I think the machine is excellent. I think there are cheaper alternatives out there, but at the end of the day I think the quality of life improvements that are built into the Creality offering make it, you know, better value. I've done a little internet search, I've had a look at some of the competition, and I can't see anything else for the price that seems to offer the same sort of user experience. So take that as you will. I'll leave a link in the description, an affiliate link to the Creality website. Now, it could be that, just before I wrap up, it could be that there are some of you watching this waiting for the next plug track episode. Well, that will come along very shortly, and hopefully you can sort of see the sense of me reviewing a laser now, because we're going to move on to be looking at some laser cut timbering bases as part of the ongoing plug track series. So that's all coming in the next few weeks. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheerio.